Chapter 9 The Ways of the Jungle by Jim Corbett.
I was camped at Sandini Gaga, 3 miles from Powalgarh, trying to get a cinema picture of cheetal stags fighting. 100 yards from my tent, there was a forest road connecting Kala Dhungi with Powalgarh. This forest road was little used by human beings, and an early morning walk along it was of great interest. For on the road was a record of all the animals that had used it during the night. A porcupine that had come out onto the road, a little beyond where I joined it, had evidently taken fright at something in the jungle, and had scurried back. The reason for his fright was apparent a few yards further on, where a bear had crossed the road from right to left. A little farther on, a 4-horned antelope with a fawn had come on the road. The fawn, whose hoof prints were no bigger than the fingernails of a child, had skipped about the road until the mother had taken fright, and after dashing down the road for a few yards, mother and fawn had gone into the jungle. I had covered half a mile when I came to a stretch of the road that had been cut out of the face of the hill. Here, the surface was too hard to show normal tracks, and I had gone a short distance along the road when my attention was arrested by an unusual mark. This was a little furrow, 3 inches long and 2 inches deep at right angles to the road. The only thing other than a human being that could have made the furrow was the pointed tip of a horn, either of a cheetal or of a young sambar. But there were no deer tracks anywhere near the furrow. I finally concluded that it had been made by the horn of a dead deer when a tiger had jumped down the bank with the deer in its mouth. There were no drag marks on the road, but this was not unusual. Whenever it is possible to do so, both tigers and leopards will lift their kill clear of the ground to avoid leaving a scent trail for bears, hyenas, and jackals to follow. To test the accuracy of my deductions, I crossed the road and looked down the hill. No drag marks were to be seen, but on a bush 20 feet down, I saw something glistening on a leaf. Going down to investigate, I found this was a big drop of blood, not yet quite dry. From here, tracking was easy, and 50 yards farther down, under the shelter of a small tree and surrounded by thick bushes, I found the kill, a cheetal stag with magnificent horns. The tiger had scratched together the dry leaves and twigs and heaped them on the kill. I had been told of a big tiger in this area, and there was now a good chance of my having a look at this tiger. A narrow glade ran down to a small stream 100 yards away. Beyond the stream was a dense patch of wild lime. The tiger would in all probability be lying up in this patch of cover, so I decided to try to get him to return to his kill. Nearly opposite the kill was the dead stump of a tree roofed over with creepers. I cleared away the dry leaves from the foot of the stump and made myself comfortable with my back to the stump. From my position, I could see the kill, which was about 30 feet away, and I could also see down the glade to the stream, on the far side of which a troop of red monkeys were feeding on the berries of a peepal tree. When my preparations were completed, I gave the call of a leopard. Leopards will, when it is safe for them to do so, eat a tiger's kill, which the tigers resent. If the tiger was within hearing distance, and if my limitation was sufficiently good to deceive him, I expected him to come up the glade. After I had had a good look at him, I intended letting him know I was there, and then make my getaway. The monkeys responded to my call by giving their alarm call. This was all to the good, for if the tiger was in the vicinity, he would now be assured that a leopard was interfering with his kill. Presently, I saw one of the monkeys turn round, peer into the jungle behind him, and then he gave an alarm call. A minute later, 2 others started calling and were followed by several others. The tiger was coming, and I greatly regretted not having my camera with me, for he would make a grand picture, walking up the glade with the sun glinting on the water of the stream. As usually happens on these occasions, the tiger did not do what I expected. After a long pause, I caught a fleeting glimpse of him as he sprang across the stream and disappeared into the thick jungle on the right-hand side of the glade. The tiger had concluded that if he came up the glade, the leopard would see him, so he had started out to stalk the leopard. This would mean his coming closer to me that I had intended letting him. The ground was carpeted with dry leaves, and the tiger accomplished his stalk without my hearing a sound. I next saw him as he was standing looking down at his kill, but to my great unease, I found I was not looking at a male tiger, but a big tigress. At the best of times, a tigress's temper cannot be relied on, and this was not one of those best of times. I was sitting too close to her kill for my comfort, and it was quite possible that she had cubs in the lime thicket, in which case she would resent my presence near her kill. If she went back the way she had come, all would be well. But the tigress did not do this. After satisfying herself that the leopard had not touched her kill, she walked out onto the glade, having the distance between us. For a long minute, she stood undecided, while I held my breath and closed my eyes until I was looking through a slit. Then she quietly walked down the glade, lay down at the stream, had a drink, and then sprang across the stream and disappeared into the thick cover. Adapted from Jungle Lore. We have much to learn from nature if we keep our eyes and ears open.